You know, we're enslaved to the credit system. We're enslaved to student loan debt. We're enslaved to things that control us. Okay, we want to be free from that. That's the whole idea of the new 40 acres and the new mule, is that we can be free from it. We don't have to live in this type of modern day slavery. We don't have to live in sharecropping, where we never own the land, where we never own the house that we're living in. You know, we never own the tools and implements to help us to gain wealth.
Yes.
Right? Now is the time where we can start to see ourselves being free of debt, being free of the credit system, things of that nature. So the important thing to think about, when we're looking at the new 40 acres and a mule, is it's about choice for number
Yes.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're not going to get it. It's not something that's going to just happen to us. That's going to be easy. All right, it's a slow. They call it the hustle. Right. Out there in the YouTube world, all the entrepreneurs who have made it, they call it the hustle, the
Gotcha.
grind. Okay. When I was going for my master's degree, and after I got my master's, then there was 3 years of that I had to put in time for to get 3,000 hours.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, even afterwards, I had to go through the state, in order to get licensed, and I had to go through the big tests. With the marriage and family therapist, it's like it's the same thing as the bar exam.
Okay. Wow.
For
Lawyers.
For the lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's equipped. It's not as thick and things like that, but the idea behind it is passing that test.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me, it was a challenge, but I stuck with it, and I kept at it, and then I finally got, received my license.
Okay.
So the thing with the new 40 acres and new mule is that it's a slow grind. All right, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that's going to take slow, methodical. It's a slow, methodical process.
And one thing I do want to share, first we want to welcome our Facebook family out there.
Yeah.
But, most get-rich schemes that I done, sad to say, invested in or whatever, didn't turn out.
Right.
So, to me, there is no get-rich-quick overnight thing, and we need to understand that, because with what I'm hearing you say, within this new 40 acres and this new mural, it's going to take some patience.
It really is. And we're going to get down into that too. We're going to talk a little bit more about what that patience looks like, and how to go about achieving those things. Okay. And not that I have achieved everything, or have already met it, those goals. I'm a fellow worker in the trenches.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I love that.
Right.
I tell people all the time to where, man, I really feel that I'm a trench worker. I feel I'm more effective when I'm on that ground level, just really grinding it out.
Grinding it out.
So, I like that, boy.
Yeah. Well, see, someone can respect you and listen to you a lot more, right, when they know that you've been through the trenches, right, that you were a fellow worker, that you were a fellow soldier.
Yes.
Right? You weren't just some, what the Bible calls a hireling. Okay? You weren't just hired on the spot, but you were someone that went through it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay? That was the reason why, if I were to use Christ and the disciples, where the reason why the disciples respected Jesus was he was a fellow worker.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Even though he was the Son of God, right? He was still a fellow worker, And so even Peter, these were hard-nosed cats, that were out there, fishing day and night. And so these people were tough, And so when Jesus came along, they wanted someone that kind of looked like them and acted like them too. And this is the same thing that we're talking about when we're going into our new 40 acres, when we're presenting ourselves out there into the world, that we want to be able to connect with people.
Yes.
All right. We want to show people that we're real. All right. Because nowadays people can read into if you're fake.
Yes, sir.
Okay. If you're not genuine, if you're not authentic, right? You're just putting on a show, those type of things.
And thank you for pointing that out, because what some folks need to understand, just because someone don't confront you about your fakeness and not being real, don't mean that they not thinking it and peep your game.
That's
in other
absolutely
words.
right. That's absolutely right.
So,
you know, especially you know, what I've learned about this community here, you know, growing up in this community, is that, you know, what people, and this goes out to a lot of counselors and therapists and service workers that are out there helping African American people, is that black folks can pick up on the subtleties. They call it, you know, in society it's called microaggression. Okay, so little small subtle things that you know, some people may not be privy to or may not be sensitive to, but we can pick up on those little small things that you know, that come across as being you know, very passive, like that passive aggressiveness, or that, you know, the talk or the looks and things to that nature. And so we're very intuitive about people who are real and people who are not real. Okay, that's the reason why we're, you know, a lot of folks are very suspicious.
Yes.
You know, when folks, right? When people come knocking on the door, or when people, you know, call them up on the phone, folks are just suspicious of it. You know, when I was working as a clinician here on the African American family team, a great program. The wraparound team was a wonderful program. You know, shouts out to the team from the past. You know.
yes, indeed.
One of the things that we were challenged with was the community being closed off, right? Because they had a distrust of the government, you know, the government agencies.
Yes.
Because the government agencies came in just to take from them, right? You know, come to take, or come to, you know, issue some kind of warrant, or, you know, something like that. That was, you know, that gave out a negative connotation. So people were very sensitive to those things. So, you know, when we're going out there and when we're presenting ourselves to the world, and it's not just black folks, but, you know, in particular what we're talking about here as far as, you know, reparations is concerned, and New 40 Acres and New Mule, and when we're reaching out to others out there in the world, we want to present ourselves as being real.
Yes. Thank you definitely for that. So I kind of lost where we at, to where I was reading some of this, to where, have you discussed number A here, what you have? And I might have missed it, and I do apologize.
Sure. So, yes, the reparations, what that was meant for,
Okay.
was to boost the social and economic welfare of Black Americans in this country. That was the reason for reparations. Okay, I think you were kind of helping with some
technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, Rachel Marie says it's a little hard to hear.
Okay.
Okay, so
we might want to talk at them a little bit.
Okay.
At the camera.
All right.
Because the radio folks can hear us good.
Oh,
I see
okay.
what they mean.
Oh,
they
so
get it in the room there. But I see now for next week we gonna make sure we take care of that. Thank you for letting us know that, Rachel. We'll speak a little louder for you.
Okay.
Appreciate that. So.
All right. So is this the camera? Is that the?
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Let me scoot a little closer.
Yes.
So one of the things that Daniel Dominguez, shouts out to you, Rachel. She's a old friend of ours. Yeah. Also, you can catch the past episodes.
Yes.
From on the African American Family Cultural Center website.
Yes.
And you can see the archives there. So the reparations, they were meant to boost the economic welfare of Black Americans. That's what reparations is. We're not just looking at Black, you know, reparations here in America, but the word reparations is to help assist folks that have been destroyed, you know, financially, economically, or, you know, in some type of social economic way. That was the purpose of it. It's not meant to take care of someone. There's a distinct difference between the two.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right. It's meant to give you a boost. That's what that's for. Okay. So when we're talking about, when most people think about reparations, they're thinking about almost in my mind's eye, on my mind, I'm thinking of more of like a welfare type of thing.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I have certain mixed feelings about that. For one, I think that a welfare type of system is good in certain sense. In certain sense, all right. It's there to try to help assist people. Let me just be more general. Okay. I think that the welfare system in general, if it's not done properly, it can end up crippling people. All right, and it can stagnate their potential growth. That's one of the major things that I see as a potential problem with the welfare system. The things that we're talking about today is where there's limitations, right, to a welfare system.
Yep.
Okay, there's certain guidelines that you have to have. With the new 40 Acres and a New Mule, about you working on your own passions and your own talents and the things that you were called and that you were meant to do, there is no limitations. Right?
Speak, brother.
There's no limitations to where your dreams can take you. That's the beauty of this thing. Right?
And I mean, ever since when you brought it to my attention of how when it's something that we're passionate about doing, sky's the limit, man. Because I mean, but you got to be determined. And I like how you put it to where when you was going to, get your master's and your MFT and all that stuff, you understood that it wasn't finna happen overnight, and you stayed the course of just going to have to study for that test.
Yes.
And all those things to make it to where you accomplish that. So you have to have some kind of determination.
You really do. And that's where a lot of people, even folks that may or may not be tuning into this particular series, okay, because a lot of people can get turned off by the idea that it's going to take work, okay? That is not easy. It's going to take work. There's a learning curve that has to come along with understanding how the computer works, how the e-commerce works, how eBay works, how Amazon works, all these different tools that are available to you. Okay, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that as our series goes on. One of the things, so we did cover A. Right
Okay,
there.
gotcha. Okay.
So the intent was giving people a fair shot at life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's the beauty. Gosh, that's the beauty that I see in the Constitution, right? I believe that was, for me, I know that other people may have different type of views about that, but that's the whole idea of the Constitution. It wasn't just meant for a certain segment of society, but it was meant for all people.
Yes.
And I believe that that's God's intent. When I went to Washington, D.C., and I looked at the Constitution, I saw the spirit of the Constitution coming up from the pages.
Wow, man.
Not just what was written by the founding fathers. They were a tool. They were an instrument that was being used. Okay, the true spirit of the Constitution, of we the people, that was everybody that's included. When we're looking at America here, we're looking at a microcosm of how the universe truly works. That everybody is different. No two people are the same person, but we all can gather together as one. Okay, and this is the spirit that we have to have when we're going into presenting our ideas and our thoughts and our dreams and our passions to the world. Is that very thought?
Okay. And that goes into what you had mentioned in an earlier series of how within this social media and the internet, to where it really isn't no haters, because you could go on there, and if people was trying to prevent you from growing, they wouldn't be sharing all these how-to videos.
That's exactly right. There's no longer me against you, okay, and what I can do better than you, okay. In certain instances that may be the case. Right. But now you have a community of people that are working together, right? Now I know that you like your DJ thing, right? And that's something that you're very passionate about. So if you have your DJ thing going on there, and you have this mixer board here, and then I have my mixer board, over here, and I'm trying to do some kind of new, I don't know, some kind of new music or new beat or whatever it may be, we can now share and collaborate with each other, and then put that online, right? And then people see us working together, and they are encouraged by it, and then my followers will follow you, and your followers will follow me, right? But we're all working together. And this is something that I brought up in my radio show. Something I say at the end. It's called Muhusani Watu, and that's the Swahili, word or phrase meaning, what I would say like it's called. In other words, it's the big village. It's the greater good. It's the big community of people working together. All right, that's what we have to keep in mind. That we don't have to fight against each other.
Not at all.
We don't. It's really working against us when we do that.
Exactly.
Right. But the idea is sharing, is being together and working together, and this is something that's really, really beautiful about the whole entrepreneurial spirit. Okay, so B, that was the reparations was given. Is giving them a fair shot of life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. That same spirit is alive today. And I would like to argue the fact that even though some people who were enslaved Americans, when they didn't receive that fair shot, they still had it in their heart to go out and pursue it. Okay, that's what all people truly desire: is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That pursuit right there is what we're talking about, of not being easy, an easy thing. Okay. The pursuit is not an easy thing.
And we have to understand that word pursuit is not giving something. You're in pursuit of being happy.
That's exactly right.
And your pursuit of happiness is, in so many ways, it's to each his own. It's like what does happiness mean to you in your personal life?
Sure, absolutely,
so, because I just think about, and the beautiful thing is we can make choices in our life, and I know all folks are not doing this, but some people choose to be homeless.
Yeah.
I'm glad I don't remember the guy's name, but I was talking to a gentleman, and one of the things that he said, he became homeless because he was living somewhere that didn't allow dogs. Mm-hmm. And so, yes, the beauty of it, he was able to make that choice to where his dog meant more to him than him having a roof over his head. Mm-hmm. But to me, at the end of the day, and I'm just sorry, I love animals today, but if I had nowhere else to move, I cannot sacrifice me living out on the street to where there's animal shelters that could have took that dog in, and you could have found somebody else. But he had the right to make the choice of being able to say, you know what, my dog is way more important.
Sure.
So it's just that pursuit of happiness. What does happiness mean to the individual?
It could, that's certainly true. That's a good point. Happiness to some people can mean a one-room studio.
Right, that's what I mean.
Right. Happiness to some people can mean being right where they're at, and just happy with that. Okay, my happiness isn't like that. It is not.
So I agree. Right. It just really isn't. And so,
and I would argue that there's a lot of Americans that are not happy with where they're at now. Okay, that's why we're having this whole series, for people to be able to be happy and live the dreams that they want to live. Okay, so one of the things that we have to look at, there's another person, Terry Tata, is watching. Terry Tata, yeah. We thank all the Facebook folks live. Hopefully that you guys can hear us a little bit more clear. We certainly appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yes, indeed.
Now, if any of you guys have questions, you can, our phone number here?
Yeah, you can call here, 530-532-8854. Brother Montreal kind of can look at the screen a little bit, and if you want to type something in, that's what we're here for. But we want to definitely thank you folks for listening. I hope you got your pens and paper out because this is some value information. And if it don't make no sense, call us with any kind of questions or chime in on Facebook Live.
Yep. We're certainly trying to make it as clear as possible
Yeah.
to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, so some of the concepts may be a little bit more difficult to follow, but that's the beauty of this whole new 40 Acres and a Mule,
Yes.
because it's supposed to be challenging. All right, it's not supposed to be super easy. It's supposed to be challenging. This is something that we really have to take into account. Okay, so when we're looking at, and that goes into the second part of the reparations, when we're looking back into some of the history, is that former slaves knew that life was not fair and knew that it was not easy. Okay, they came to that realization that you know, it was not going to be an easy thing for people to just achieve their goals, you know, and you know, life would be beautiful from there. Okay, but the idea was that these folks knew that hardship was coming. They knew that it was going to be very difficult, yet and still they kept pressing on.
Yep,
Right?
exactly. And just to touch on basis of what you just said
Sure.
there, and if they was able to persevere and keep pressing on back with what they had to work with, what we have to work with in today's society, there is no excuse.
You know, and this is, I'm going to do another series with, hopefully here,
Okay.
and Dr. Lou is, she contacted me. She's been wanting to work with me for a while. She's out of Shasta County. We're going to do you know, another series on some of these same type of issues and, you know, topics. Yeah, you're right. You know, there's one thing that, you know, that there is no excuse. Okay, there really isn't. And if you do have an excuse, nobody wants to hear
That's
it.
what. But something I want to point out, man, and I think this might be a good time slot to where even if you want to start getting me your podcast to start broadcasting during this time, being that we're bringing this series, I'm all for it, man.
That'd be awesome.
I'm
I really
serious,
appreciate
man, because like I say, to where, you know, some of this stuff I'm aware of. I'm aware of this, you know, the whole thing of how people are definitely becoming self-sufficient through this internet and social media stuff that's out here. And, you know, I even jokingly say to people to where if I no longer be doing this kind of stuff, I'm just gonna go start doing stupid stuff on the internet, because I mean, there's people, it's not everybody, but there's some people that, I mean, obviously they was creative, but they done did something that might be stupid to me, but they get hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers and they're receiving a check.
Millions of followers.
Yeah, serious. And so,
millions of followers.
and so, you know, it really is. It's just being passionate about it, you know, because some people, I try to say I don't like being in the camera, but I be at home and doing my thing, DJing, and I just won't put it out there because, like I said, my position here. So, but I do have a friendly, funny side here as well.
Yeah.
So, but it's just being creative to where if you know you don't mind being in the camera, what is it that you love to do? And I want to be careful with it, because some people might love to do certain things that's not internet appropriate and worthy. So, you know, with good taste and all that, just being creative is just, I mean, it's just something that we all have that ability to be able to just create.
Well, sure, yeah, that's kind of coming down a little bit ways into our into the outline here. But one of the things that we're going to touch on some of that creativity and what that looks like. Okay, so that's part of the how of our lesson today.
Gotcha.
Or actually, that's number 2, turning your passion into profit. Okay, and the benefits behind it. A lot of people get hung up on a few things, right? Because we struggle day to day, and a lot of times it's from past issues. Okay, so they're afraid of moving forward, or they don't know how to move forward, or they don't know how to achieve the life that they truly want to achieve. You know, a lot of times people come from, you know, they've been abused as a child, they come from drug addicted families or parents. generational poverty, poor education, all, the list goes on, right? And some of these things stick with us,
Yes.
right? They cause a complex within us that we were not able to get through. I would advise, those who are out there, if you don't have, a good coach or a good therapist or someone that you can talk to, and part of what I share with people is that this is, having a good coach and a good therapist or someone that you can, relay some of the issues to you on, to that person on. It's part of your maintenance. And it's just like going to the gym. It's just part of keeping your body in tune. And this part of yourself is the psyche, is the mind, keeping that mind in tune, right? Keeping those things at a place where it doesn't cause hardship and doesn't get in your way. So a lot of these struggles do come to mind, and it just gives rise to hopelessness. But what I always say is that we should not let the negativity of your past hold you back to the success of your future. Okay, so those things that were meant, or that things were harmful to you back in the past, we should use that as the manure to help us to grow.
Yes.
Right? That's a big part of it.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because one of the things that kind of came to my mind is sometimes we are afraid to fail, but failure is a good thing. We have to look at that and learn that failures, it teaches us what not to do, not to repeat. So unless we fail a few times in things in our life, how do we know how to maneuver and be able to make these corrections and learn from our failure?
Absolutely.
So, and I was one of those persons to where, and it's not a good thing, because when we think about failure, it's kind of a negative thing, but we have to look at it in a positive way, to where, this happened for a reason. It's not the end of the world. I can learn from this. That's what I quickly try to tell myself when things happen and don't go the way as planned. Instead of looking at failure, I look at it as a learning experience for me.
Absolutely, and those are the things that I found that's really helpful in helping other people. Is my mistakes, is my so-called failures, right? The things that I thought was going to go in a good direction end up going sideways. And it's hard, it's hardcore when you go through it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I ain't gonna sit there and say it was just easy to just let it go over. It's just learning how to deal with it, because I too, through my life, has knowing that I went through a depression part, and I'm happy that I went through it, because I know what it feels like.
Oh yeah.
I know what it feels
Absolutely.
like. And so now, when I feel myself going there, I go, wait a minute. Whoa, you're shutting yourself out from the world, or what's going on with you? And I got to check in with myself. So I look at it as a good thing.
What were some of those experiences for you when you were going through that depression?
Isolation, not wanting to deal with people, didn't want to talk to nobody. I can remember people coming to knock on my door, and I'm sitting right in there. They probably heard the television, but I didn't answer the door, because I was thinking, because of the situation that happened, people were going to look at me as a failure. You see what I mean? And so I had to learn, and when I came out of it, like I said, I'm just, all these little things that I was going through, eating, started eating more to just try to cover up the pain and things like that. So when like I said, if I start going through these things, it's just an eye opener for me to say, oh, wait a minute, what's going on? And it's just kind of time to check in. So.
Yeah. Do you remember what you were feeling at that time?
Hopeless. Yeah. Like, it was just like, why me? And one of the things that I'll share real quick, somebody sent me a link, and it was Steve Harvey. He was talking about it. He got this from Joel Osteen. And at the end of the day, this guy had died and was in heaven, and he was going through this hallway, and there was a lot of doors with all these different people's names on it. And so he came across a door that had his name on it, and he asked John, what's behind this door? And he was like, well, you don't want to know. And the guy said, yes, I do. And he opened the door, and it was like a big factory with shelves, and it was all these boxes on it. He was like, what are these boxes? He was like, these are the blessings that God was trying to send you. And so then Steve, he did this a little cartoon analysis to where when we don't have faith, we miss our blessings, because when God is sending us and trying to give us our blessings, he sends them on faith lane. But when we go to pity way and oh poor me lane, we're now no longer on Faith Street, and so we missing our blessings. So that was just something, when I heard that, man, it was just like, wow. And so we just got to keep the faith. For all the believers out there, you just, even when the darkest time comes, you just got to believe that God he's trying to show me something. And so it was just, that little analysis just been really just sticking with me, and I've been really sharing that with a lot of people, because we all do sometime in our life just get to doubting and, you know, want to throw the pity party for ourselves. And those are the part of the things that I was kind of going through my depression stage. It was just like, pity me, why this has happened to me, there's no way this should be happening to me, da, 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 da. But I had to really evaluate and take a look at self and what was my role that I played with this whole situation that I was dealing with. And once I came to terms with that and got back into the faith, doors start opening again for me. So it was a learning experience, and like I said, I wouldn't trade that for nothing in the world, because that's what really taught me a lot about just things happening in life.
Sure.
So, yes,
yeah,
that's
very powerful.
So
Very
thank
powerful.
you.
I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that you know, when we're looking at those type of experiences, right? We're looking at something that is very unique to you. However, there's other people that are going through some of the same things that you have went through. Right?
Exactly.
They need to hear your story. Right? They need to hear, like right now, right? We're opening up this whole new avenue for people to really receive the help,
Right.
and know that they're not alone out there in
Exactly.
the world.
Exactly.
Because I tell you what, depression is one of those things that is, gosh, I don't know if any people who have not experienced it, I don't know if they really understand like the gravity of it, how heavy it can be. You know, it's almost like a burning feeling that you can't really let extinguish, right? You know, nobody can really pull you out of it. You know, sometimes you can pull yourself out of it. A lot of times you need other people to help with you to pull you out of that. You know, so to those of you that are out there listening, you know, we want you to know that no matter what, if you're going through anxiety, you're going through depression, or any of those type of different type of psychosis, or anything to that nature that's troubling you, we want you to get that help. Okay, we want you to know that there is help out there. You know, you can call the mental health line.
You have to seek help. You have to.
Right.
You have to, because, and that was one of the things that I had to learn, to where those individuals who was knocking on my door during this time, they was just concerned about me. At the end of the day, is what I came to, versus thinking that, oh man, these people just coming to just keep sticking the dagger. So it was just a learning experience, and if I never would have gone through this, I wouldn't have never be able to, one, talk about it, or I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now today if I'd have just stayed stuck. So
yeah, everybody has those ups and down moments, and some of those downs for a lot of people is very down.
Yes.
Okay, and I talked to you, I think it was a few weeks back, but you know, I talked to you about Dwight Lewis and how he's helped me out a lot, and Henry Whitson, my own mother, Sheila Thomas, and you know, the church mothers and things to that nature. Those were the people that were very influential. Some of those folks who are gone, you know, they're not here with us. You know, old church mothers aren't here with us, here with me any longer. My grandmother, you know, but they were influential of who I am today.
Yes.
Okay, the reason why that I'm able to do the counseling and the therapy and things like that, and share my experiences and my talents with the world, is because I was they're the ones that held me up. Folks in this, you know, Orville community, They're the ones that helped me to get to where I am today.
And you know, I don't I don't want to kind of rush it, but I kind of might have double booked myself. I think I'm hoping he's not here yet, but I had a interview with Doug Lamoffett.
Oh.
But let's kind of keep talking here,
Okay.
man. And
All
so
right.
we'll kind of just see where we end up.
Okay.
But hopefully you got the next several Fridays available,
Sure.
so for us to be able to do this,
Okay.
and we'll just kind of continue on.
Yeah, I think we're touching on some good topics,
Yeah, no,
that
that
needed
needed-
to be
yes, sir.
touched
Thank
on.
you. Thank
So
you.
what we'll do is we'll those of you that are out there listening, we're going to continue with this series, for a few Fridays more,
Mhm.
and then we'll kind of touch into some of the things that we, that we want to cover today. So what we should do now is maybe we can just do a recap
Yes.
of what we covered already.
For those that missed out.
For those who have missed out, okay, and then we can touch a little bit on what we're going to talk about next week,
Mhm.
okay, and then we can kind of open the doors up if people want to ask questions or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Let's do that.
All right, so the points of discussion for today, we talked a lot about reparations, but reparations, and talked a little bit about the past, how people have overcame the issues that were set before them. We talked about life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, and what that truly means. The pursuit is a hustle, it's a grind, to your happiness. It's nothing that comes easy, okay? So that's something that's very important to understand. We're all faced with ups and downs. We're all faced with things that
Yes.
get in our way, child abuse issues, drug issues, parents that were not very supportive of us, all kinds of different things from our past. We want to let those things be the fuel to propel us forward into the future, to our success. People need to hear those stories, right? And so the World Wide Web now, you can be able to tell your story, whatever you feel comfortable with, and whatever is appropriate, if you will. People need to hear that story, all right? And when you start to tell your story and then show ways of how you made it over and how you got out of those situations, people will start to be, and then you're real with it.
Yes,
We
yes.
talk about being authentic with your story. When you start to do those things, then that's when people start to gravitate more toward you and want to be able to follow who you are as a person. And then you want to give them some surefire ways of making it over, of how you made it through, all right, and then making it very clear so that they can understand it. They can come out of some of the same issues that you
I like that.
you were
I like
once in.
that. I like that.
All right, so number 2, we're going to talk about turning your passions into profit. So this is something that we're going to cover in our next week. Okay. Number 3, the power of now. Kind of touched a little bit about that, but we're going to talk a little bit about what that truly means.
I like that. I like that. Uh-oh, let me see. Let me see.
While Brother Bobby is looking to see if that's a caller or if that's Mr. Mafa.
I just got the word. Mr. Lamoff is out there hanging out, so he should be hearing us. I'm on my way out there, Doc. So anyway, Montreal, brother, I just can't thank you, because just to let, and it's talking about sharing with people, just I look at that whole concept, pursuit to happiness, in a whole different way now, man. I'm serious. I mean, I don't know, that's just that's what I'm really taking from this, besides other things, was that whole pursuit to happiness, man.
Yeah.
It's just, it really is, and it's not something that's easy. It's not just if you can create happiness for the rest of your life overnight, please tell me your secret.
Right.
And people can't really determine that, because they're not at the end of their life right now.
Yeah.
So that's right there should get people to understand it's a journey, man.
It is a journey.
It's a journey. It's
It-
not going to happen overnight.
No, it's not. But enjoy the journey.
Right.
Enjoy the hardship. Right.
And to me, thank you for sharing it, because that's that pursuit to happiness.
It is.
Enjoying it as you pursue it.
Yeah.
So
This right here is enjoyable to me. this is something that I am passionate about.
Seriously.
And so for next week, I want the folks to remember this. So as we're going to tune into the passion side of the 40 acres, and the new 40 acres and the mule, is if you were not paid to do something, what would that something be? If you were not paid to do something and you really love doing that thing, what would that be? That's your passion.
And with that, folks, I just want to have you something to eat on and nibble till next Friday, because that right there, if that don't bring you to the point where, you know what, I need to get some more of this information about this new 40 acres. I don't know what else to tell people. Because somebody have said, you know what, somebody told me that's what they told their kid. A gentleman who kid is he's very successful in the things that they do, but he said those are the things that he said to his children. If you could do anything in the world, especially if not being paid, what would be something that you would enjoy really doing? Because if you enjoy doing it without getting paid, just think about you getting paid. So anyway, enough of me, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And it's always a pleasure speaking with you.
1-800-895-6926. It's 1-800-895-6926. You can see me on www.montrealjamari.com, MONTRIELJAMARI, or Podbean, BEAN, MVJ Inner Strength Coaching, and then you can see some of my past broadcasts. Brother Bobby, thank you very much, sir.
It's
I
always
appreciate
a pleasure.
you. And I'm looking forward to next Friday.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for tuning in.
Same channel, same bad channel. This is KOYO 107.1 FM. Let's do a little bit before we get out of here. What do I got? Let's do some cranes in the sky. We up out of here. Until next week, folks. You enjoyed the new 40 acres and the new mule here on 107.1 FM KOYO, your community radio. See ya. Cool, man. This is beautiful. I'm gonna hit the finish, yep.
So,
Over to, yeah, there you go.